Miami Dolphin fans, football's finally here. We're less than a week away from NFL football. I couldn't be more excited, and I'm sure you guys are in the same boat. I'm going to do a record prediction today to break down the Miami Dolphins record heading into this very exciting season, which all Dolphins fans have high expectations.
Miami Dolphins #1.
Before I hop into today's video, make sure you keep your eyes posted on my social medias. I'm going to be running a huge sale before the season to celebrate NFL kickoff to get your Miami Dolphins gear before the season starts at the best Miami Dolphins merch shop on the planet, dolphinsdive.com. Without further ado, I'm going to hop right into today's prediction. Starting with week 1, the Miami Dolphins are home versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. It's nice to have some home games early in the season as the Dolphins can use the weather to their advantage. I overall think the Dolphins are just a better overall team than the Jaguars. Obviously, both teams have new defensive coordinators, and that's what I think kind of the game's going to come down to, is how you can start slow when you have a new coordinator with players trying to get comfortable with the new scheme. But I overall think the Dolphins are a more talented team, and I think in terms of the defense, from my understanding, the Jaguars like to run a lot of press man coverage, and Dolphins kind of torch that kind of coverage. You're going to have a hard time keeping up with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and the speed that we have. Starting off 1-0, home against the Buffalo Bills, Thursday Night Football, already early in the season. I kind of like getting our Thursday night game out of the way early, although we have one further in the year. I usually tend to like to split division games because ultimately, even if a team's significantly better or however we feel about the Bills or the Jets, they're just hard games. Division games are always tough, but I'm going to have the Dolphins win the home game. So the Dolphins home versus the Bills, starting the season 2-0, finally beating the Bills for a long time. Week 3, this is a big test away at Seattle. Huge prove-it game in terms of the fact the Dolphins have struggled on the road in loud environments because of how the system operates with the motions, being able to signal players, getting the snap count. The Dolphins have had a tendency of being the last seconds of the play clock, and then there's delay games and things of that nature. So being in a loud environment with the Seattle's 12th man, I think is going to be tough. I have the Dolphins losing this. No team's going to go undefeated, so I'm just trying to have realism because I'm a very optimistic person. I would have us win the entire schedule if it was up to me. But week 4, Monday Night Football, revenge game against the Titans, who basically derailed our season last year. I hope the Dolphins destroy them into oblivion. I have us winning that game. Once again, just think the Dolphins are better. We're at home early in the season. I think we'll just outmatch them this year. Week 5, away at the Patriots. Now, I know I said I was going to have a split division game, but the Patriots are doo-doo. So I'm having the Dolphins pick up a win on the road in Foxborough, being 4-1. Obviously, Tua has never lost to the Patriots. Obviously, new head coach in town, John Mayo, but I don't think that's going to change yet. Then we have an early bye week 6 bye, which I don't love, but it is what it is. And then week 7, we are on the road at the Colts, which Colts don't have a great home field advantage as they're indoors on turf. Usually bodes well for players that are fast, and the Dolphins have plenty of speed on both sides of the ball. I have the Dolphins picking up a win against the Colts, moving to 5-1 on the season. Week 8, home versus the Arizona Cardinals. This is a nice game to be home, so we don't have to travel to the West Coast. Once again, I think the Dolphins are better. Should be interesting to see how the Cardinals do in year 2 under Gannon. I think he's shown that they have some talent. They're obviously, I just think they're still early in that rebuilding process, but I'm a big fan of Kyler Murray. I know he gets a lot of trash, but I think the Dolphins pick up the win and move to 6-1 on the year. Week 9, we're away at Buffalo, and that's a game I think we drop and to move to 6-2 on the season. It's gonna be very interesting to see how Buffalo adapts from losing a lot of talent. They lost obviously Poyer, Micah Hyde, Stephon Diggs. They lost a lot of talent due to that QB contract finally hitting in. So it's gonna be fascinating to see how they really adapt. Week 10, we are on the road at Los Angeles. Now, this is a very difficult game. Moving to the West Coast is a long trip. This is one of those games I'm having the Dolphins win, just because the Odell Beckhams, the Jalen Ramseys, it's not a revenge game, but just when the lights are brightest, I think they're going to make plays to help beat their former team to move to 7-2 on the year. And a note to make is that there's a lot of games on this schedule that are difficult, and I honestly see going either way, whether it's the Rams or some of the future games against the Packers, Texans, Niners. I kind of just gave wins and losses. I think it's going to balance out. So maybe the Dolphins lose this game, but they'll win the game that I have us losing. So just keep that in mind. This is just kind of trying to be realistic on how NFL seasons go. Week 11, home at the Raiders, and this is going to hurt having Christian Wilkins return to Miami, and I think he could potentially be a game wrecker and destroy this game, but I have the Dolphins winning. The Raiders, once again, they have some phenomenal talent, and the Max Crosbys, the Wilkins, the Devontae Adams. I just don't think they have enough to be good enough, but they're gonna beat good teams. They've beaten the Chiefs last year. They can beat us. This is not a give me dub, but I just have the Dolphins winning. But this is a game I would not be surprised if we dropped. But we moved to 8-2 on the year into week 12, home versus the Patriots, who are doo-doo, having us move to 9-2. Should be interesting to see if the rookie Drake May is playing at this time or not, if it's still going to be Jacoby Brissett, the Dolphin legend, who Flores notoriously wanted to start over Tua, trying to derail his career. But I digress. Week 13. This is a fun game, but I think it's going to be a heartbreak game. Thursday night football, Thanksgiving. So 2 Thursday night games. I don't love that, but Thanksgiving night game, which is, I love Thanksgiving football, but it sucks that we are on the road in Green Bay. Green Bay is obviously a good team. They obviously have a home field advantage with the cold that they're more inclined to than the Miami Dolphins. We'll all be plugged into the TV. I have us losing this game. It's a difficult game on the road, but with that said, this is a great narrative destroying game. Like, if the Dolphins go out in a cold Lambeau Field and beat the Green Bay Packers on national television, like, I still think some of these narratives are lazy, that the Dolphins can't play in the cold and yada, all of this, because the Dolphins have performed pretty well in the cold in the past. Obviously, there's been times where it didn't go in our favor, but think back to Buffalo. Even we lost that game like 2 years ago in the snow. Our offense put up points. Our defense just couldn't get a stop. But this would be a great narrative destroying game. But I have us losing, dropping to 9-3 on the season. Into week 14, we're home versus the New York Jets, who are another fascinating team, similar to the Buffalo Bills, who just have a ton of talent. We all know about them. Aaron Rodgers obviously went down with the injury. How do they bounce back? If Aaron Rodgers is their quarterback, are they just a different team than they were last year? Last year, they had a phenomenal defense, a trash offense. Aaron Rodgers fix it? I really think he can. I think personally, Nathaniel Hackett has shown he's not a great play caller unless Aaron Rodgers is his quarterback. That's a big difference. The offenses with Aaron Rodgers at the helm have been phenomenal for Nathaniel Hackett. So if Aaron Rodgers is there, the Jets are a very dangerous team, but they also have a tough schedule. And I think they're one of those teams that they start slow, their season can just go straight downhill. But if they're competitive early, they can really build momentum. They're great defense. They have some pieces on offense. But I have the Dolphins winning at home, moving to 10-3 on the season, moving to week 15 on the road against the Houston Texans, who had a tremendous year last year. There was very little expectation of them, and they shattered them. CJ Stroud showed to be one of the best quarterbacks in all football just from one early rookie season. They went out and added some talent in the Stephon Diggs and Joe Mixons of the world, helped continue to reinforce their defense. So it should be interesting to see. But for whatever reason, there's sometimes that it doesn't make sense. Football is a phenomenal game because it's any given Sunday, any given season, where like I feel like a team like the Texans, I still think they're going to be good. But there's teams like the Texans who have a phenomenal, like no one expects them to do good. And then in year 2, they'll just have a weird regression. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I actually have the Dolphins losing this game, moving to 10-4. But the Texans are an interesting team. I personally think they'll be good, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they were just one of those teams that just turned to crap for some reason. And then obviously next year there's a different year. But having us losing that game, moving to 10-4, like I said, trying to keep it realistic. But I think that's a winnable game. Week 16, a home versus the 49ers. Obviously, them coming West Coast to East Coast bodes well for us. But Kyle Shanahan has a tendency to beat all of his predecessors. So I have the Dolphins stopping this game, moving to 10-5. Week 17 on the road against the Cleveland Browns, who, I mean, Brian Flores wanted Deshaun Watson over Tua Tagovailoa. Mini revenge game, kind of funny. It'll be a cold environment as Cleveland in week 17 is going to be a cold place, but I have the Dolphins winning this game. I think Deshaun Watson is a trash quarterback and a trash human being. So Dolphins on the road move to 11-5, which is a great record heading into week 18. Now this could be a game against the Jets on the road that could determine the division, or I mean maybe the Dolphins are sitting starters. 11 wins might have us with the division. This division is a toss-up. We have 3 very good teams that I would say there's question marks with all 3 teams. If the Dolphins can beat the good teams, if the Jets offense can get it turned around with Aaron Rodgers, and how the Bills do with their loss of talent. I'm hoping with an 11-5 record, maybe the Dolphins are clinched. This could be division on the line game, but like I said, I split the division games on the road. Gonna be probably cold in my great state of New Jersey. Have the Dolphins losing, moving to 11-6 on the season, which should be more than good enough for a playoff berth. I'm just hoping it's finally good enough to win a division. It sucks that the Dolphins are in the best conference in football. Obviously, there's only 2, but the AFC is just so much better than the NFC, where if you get a 4 seed in the playoffs in the AFC, you're facing a very good team, whereas if you're in the NFC, you're probably still facing a lousy team. So it's just unfortunate, but it is what it is. I think the Dolphins are going to be much improved from last year. I genuinely do. They have a different grit to them. I think the players are more bought in on the defensive side of the ball. They really didn't like Fangio. I think highly of Anthony Weaver. I just hope it doesn't take too long to get into his defensive scheme. But like I said, I think some of the games I have us winning, we might lose. Some of the games that have us losing, we might win. I think this Dolphins team's in a 10 to honestly 13 win team. I think they can be very, very good. It really just comes down to health. Gotten very injured the past couple of years. Last year, losing our top playmakers, and they're all playing on one foot basically. So ultimately, it comes down to luck and just continued growth throughout the season. I have high hopes for this team. What are your thoughts? Comment your thoughts on the Miami Dolphins record down below. Like and subscribe to help the channel grow. I appreciate you guys for watching. And like I said, keep your eyes tuned for that sale that's going to be coming on Monday. Appreciate you guys for watching. And until next time, fins up.